Hey, what's up, everyone? So, this is going to be the 68th opening that I'd like to share with you, which is the Tanida Buffalo. So, I think Tanida, it's basically named after Kunihiko Tanida. He was the youngest World Othello Championship at the age of 17. He won his World Othello Championship. And of course, that record was subsequently then broken recently in 2018. I think he won his in the 1980s, and then more recently, this record was broken in 2018 when Keisuke Fukuchi won his World Othello Championship at a young age of 9. So that's a huge break in the record in terms of age, going from 17 or maybe 15, I guess, for Kunihiko Tanida to 9. And the interesting thing is that Kunihiko Tanida, he's actually I've met him in person at the 2011 World Championships the first time. He's a very wise person and also a very nice person. And he's also a pilot. And interestingly, when Keisuke Fukuchi broke his record in 2018, he was actually the pilot of the plane that Mr. Keisuke Fukuchi flew back from Europe to Japan. So I think that was always very interesting to kind of see that camaraderie between the Japanese. So let's take a look at this particular opening, and let's check it out. So basically, F5 is the lead to this Tanida Buffalo opening. So I would say that this sequence is the standard Buffalo opening, followed by after C3 we have F4, which is one of the most common counters to Buffalo opening. So I would say that as this variation is Tanida Buffalo, it has to kind of lead from white's perspective. Black is usually starting with a Buffalo variation, and for you to kind of go into that sub variation, it's usually determined by white. So over here, white still do have a few options to E3, D3, and C5, and of course, Tanida Buffalo is probably one of the most common openings within the Buffalo variation, and then basically white forms kind of like a block. You retain your advantage, your slight lead, and at the same time you limit options for black because typically once you form a huge block like this and two spaces over here, the chances is you're having like a line control over here, and basically black only has very awkward options to X square or even this loud move, and at the same time black essentially only has two options. So I would say that this opening is special in a sense that as white you kind of narrow down the lines, you go into very predictable lines because there are so few options or so few variations to kind of play around with. And typically, white would go either D2 or F2 over here, and D2 is perhaps arguably one of the most common openings. So, yeah, this is essentially the Tanida Buffalo, and I would say that. Yeah, black typically goes for E1 or if not F3, either one of those. Seldom black goes to G6. So if you are playing as black and you're faced up against Tanida Buffalo, you might want to play G6 as a variation. But over here, for white, it's a lot easy to kind of centralize either in D7 or E7. So for argument's sake, the predictable line or the most common line for this opening is typically black to kind of play the E1, white to intersect. So I would say it's fairly intuitive. Black plays to F3. Black has to play a loud move in order to kind of continue on with the best move. And for white, it's so easy for white to actually play moves. It's so easy to follow up. You have to go in deep in book because it's such a narrow line, and I would say that it's narrow for black. It's wide for, I mean, it's relatively wide, and white would have more options. So I would definitely recommend this for advanced players and above to actually explore this as a wide opening against the Buffalo. But at the same time, because this is such a narrow line, there's a high chance that your opponent has a very familiar background to this opening. So I would say that most of the moves are relatively easier for white because all white has to do is just kind of centralize it and just maintain the center shape, and then yeah, I would say it's relatively easy for black as well. So I would classify this opening as a relatively easy opening. And of course, if you're playing against a beginner or novice player, this opening is great for you to avoid mistakes. If you're playing an expert player, in a sense, it's also good because you kind of narrow down the lines and you can go deep into the book with your opponent. So I would say that if you want to play this opening, you have to be really confident and you really have to prepare yourselves for the book sequence. So yeah, I think that's essentially kind of like the exploration of the Tanida Buffalo opening, and I would say that typically you play it as white, and you lead the variation as white. So yeah, if you like this opening, if you like something that is really deep and gives you more options and gives your opponent fewer options, I think this opening could be very useful. And that's kind of assuming that you are playing as a diagonal opening player for white. So yeah, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Smash that like button, like, share, and subscribe. And yeah, thank you very much for joining me in this opening video, and I'll look forward to seeing you at the next one. Goodbye.